This is a YouTube test.
Check, check, check.
All those trade acquisitions, the Yankees lose to the lowly Orioles. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 382 of the Anthem podcast, coming to you from all over LA. But of course, Corey is still there, gentrifying the neighborhood one day at a time. Thank you for joining us.
One neighborhood at a time.
Yeah, whatever. I bumbled it.
You can find us at anchor.fm/OTheAnthem. A fine site for fine podcasting needs.
Okay. If you say so. All right, so a lot of stuff to get to this week. At the top, my living nightmare. Well, my nightmares come to life, I suppose. Also, beloved children's book, all wrapped up in one. We're, of course, talking about Lollapalooza.
See,
did you ever go to Lollapalooza?
No, but I wasn't against it. I went to like the Warped Tour and HF Festival, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like sort of similar.
Back in the before time, though. Back in the before time.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, I think in the before time too, it traveled, right? Now it's like it's a standing thing.
I guess so. Yeah.
Lollapalooza just happens in Chicago. It doesn't happen like elsewhere.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, perhaps it's shit. What's the one in the middle of nowhere, middle of the desert? Coachella.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like Coachella in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, pictures coming out of Lollapalooza make me nervous. I remember to celebrate my vaccination, I went to Vegas. Mm-hmm. The reason why I went the exact moment that I did was because the next day they were going to start opening up like everything in Vegas, and I didn't know if I was prepared for that. And I clearly wasn't prepared for that because everyone who's going to Vegas is now getting sick.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I'm glad I went for that one night when I did, because it seemed like it was like the safest window to be in Vegas. But even that said, you know, in one half the amount of people that would normally be there at the same time, I remember looking around Las Vegas and going like, this is probably not the safest place to be at the moment. And it's not even like I was like, you know, at like a fucking nightclub or, you know, anything that would potentially be considered a dangerous COVID activity. But when you're looking at a crowd of like thousands of people like jammed shoulder to shoulder and not a mask to be seen, it is I'm sure a lot of people are going to come back from that concert without any kind of COVID.
Yeah.
Like they'll be fine. Like other people will get sick, but not everybody. And they'll say to themselves like, oh, okay, you know, I'm invincible. But that shouldn't be your litmus test, because that made me nervous.
Well,
and
I do just want to clarify, though, although Corey went to the Spearmint Rhino, that is, in fact, a non-COVID safe activity. That's not something you should be doing in COVID times.
I didn't do that during COVID times. That's been a while. It's been like what, like 7, 8 weeks. Something.
Yeah.
No. I just think generally speaking, there's a lot of people who are just like, I've been stuck, you know, like inside for so long, and like the only things that I really love I want to get back to in some sort of way. And for a lot of people, that's like these big concerts. So I understand why people were there, and I hope, I just hope that if you were there maskless, you were vaccinated at the very least. But you know, I'm still of the mind that I'd rather not get COVID because I'd rather not risk it. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just like unique in this way because like I think at this point being vaccinated and like, you know, I could probably get COVID, and they're saying that 99.99% of people will not get seriously ill or die from COVID if you're vaccinated. That's what the CDC had recently said. So um you know, I guess I should feel secure in the fact that I probably wouldn't die. But I also, in the back of my mind somewhere, is just like, this is the day where something goes wrong. Like,
Well, let me
I
ask
had
you.
a heart condition I didn't know about, and now this is complicating my whole COVID matter. Like, you know, like
Let me ask you.
something.
If I put a big pinwheel, a big spinning wheel, and I
Yeah,
divide it into 1,000 sections,
yeah.
and 999 of them were green, one was red, and I told you, I need you to spin that 4,000 times, and if you get all greens all 4,000 times, fantastic. But if you get one red, dead. Are you willing to take? Like, if I say I'm going to put a gun to your head and I'm going to shoot you if you get a red, are you willing to take that?
I mean, that seems like just a better odds version of Russian roulette.
It is.
Only you're playing it with more turns.
Yeah, a lot more turns, a lot more
Usually
safety.
you don't go 4,000 deep in your Russian roulette game, but
Yeah, and you don't have a 1,000 chamber gun with a single bullet in it. But that is essentially how the probability breaks down for the 99.95%, where if you have the vaccine and even if you got COVID, you're still going to survive. That is, and it's 99.99 or 95 is difficult to comprehend. But if I say, oh, yeah, so again, 1,000 spaces on a wheel, spin it 4,000 times. Most people our age would say, yeah, I'm not going to do that. What do I get if I win? Oh, you get to go Lollapalooza. Fuck no. I don't even want to go there anyway. But, you know, I asked that to 20-year-old interns who were going to go to Universal, and I was like, you get a fun day at Universal with your friends, but if you get red one time, dead. Well, I mean, it's I haven't been out in a long time, and Universal's super fun, so yeah, I'd do that. I'm like, fucking, you think you're invincible? Just,
I mean, the problem is that, like, you know, just because it's Lollapalooza, the odds are higher because you're interacting with more people.
with hippies, yes, there's a lot of hippies there. There's a lot of dirty people.
That's the spectrum there. But the problem is that, like, you know, you could just as easily have that 1 in 1,000 chance of getting COVID at, you know, the gas station or something like that. Hypothetic, you know, like
Not
it could
really
happen,
though, because it's
I mean, it
about
could happen
a crowd,
anywhere.
It's a crowd greater than 10 in a small space.
Right. I'm saying, you know, one person has COVID behind you and you're not wearing your mask, and you go into the gas station and he coughs up a bunch of droplets in your face. Like,
Sure.
that couldn't potentially lead to you having COVID, and potentially that 1 in 1,000.
You not wearing
chance.
a mask, certainly not helpful.
I mean, I guess everything is, it's not just probability, but it's also like probability mixed with luck in a degree.
There's no
you know?
such thing as luck. It's just probability.
Well, I mean, probability. People will say that there's luck in probability too, though. Like I'm gonna flip the coin 10 times and the first 8 are all heads.
That's because the coins, the tail side of the coin is slightly more heavy, so it's going to end up going down more often than it is going to head side.
Perhaps, but if it's a perfectly balanced coin and it just so happens that it lands heads 8 times in a row,
that's too small a sample size. Flip it 10,000 times and see how.
That's not a statistical anomaly. I'm saying, like, over the course of those 8 flips, you could be lucky.
No. Stop giving people this idea. There is no luck. If you take a small sample size, you can have it skew in any direction that you want. However, on a large enough sample size, you are going to reach a 50-50 result from flipping a coin.
Right. You will get that thing. But
Yes.
at some point along the course of that, you will have a lucky stretch where you have way more heads than you had at any other point. You might even go 300 heads to, like 92 tails at some point. Like there
Sure.
could be a huge. I'm saying, like, just because in the end, over a long enough sample, it will become 50-50 doesn't mean that, it's always at every moment going to be 50-50,
No,
that's what I'm saying.
That's how probability works. The probability says
saying,
on a long enough timeline,
if I live in a mountain, if I live in a mountain by myself and I'm vaccinated, my chances of getting COVID are much lower because I'm going to interact with less people. I have less shots at getting COVID. But I could run into one person, get COVID, and then die, while the person who goes to Lollapalooza could be around 10,000 other people and not get COVID and not die.
Your chances, are smaller. The probability remains the same.
Right, but I'm saying like chance and probability are not necessarily, like there's luck there too. That's the other part of this triangle. Chance, probability, and luck.
So you're saying there's some immutable force in control of the universe that is choosing whether or not people die?
No. I'm just saying that, like, how many times have you ever you get on the highway? Like I go to pick you up, right? And I'm bringing you back to my place.
Sure.
And then on the way back, we see a really nasty car accident has happened 10 minutes after I have passed it.
Sure.
And like there's a huge gridlock for miles and miles of people waiting to get through the car accident.
Mm-hmm.
If I, for whatever reason, left 10 minutes later, I would be stuck in that. Like
that's not luck.
That's luck.
No, it's not luck. That is the end result of not only one, but probably a million of decisions that led to the interaction of two cars at one point. That is not luck. It is solely based on decision making. Probability of 50-50, generally speaking.
Their intersection with me, though, is the luck.
No.
Yes.
Because you made a decision at some point, either that day or the day before, which threw everything into that alignment. The fact that you turned left instead of right, that you took that path to the freeway instead of the other path, all of those things which have basically an if or then, like a 50-50 probability, led to that result. It's not about luck, because a choice you make right now on this podcast could end up resulting in your death. Or it could end up having you avoid death, but has nothing to do with luck. It's about the outcome of decisions only.
Well, let me put it in this context then. There is a chance that I could get a Lollapalooza and not get COVID. Yes. And then there's a chance I can go on Joe Manchin's houseboat and get it.
Who are you, Lindsey Graham?
How do you explain that? Bad luck.
No,
that's how you explain that.
That's God who's cursing you because you are homosexual and you're also against homosexuals. So that's...
it's Min Julep night on the Manchin boat.
So we are, of course, talking about Lindsey Graham, who, in a section that I entitled, "What the fuck are we doing?" Lindsey Graham tests positive after vaccination. He's reporting some symptoms that are similar to an upper respiratory infection and the flu at the same time, which, by the way, sounds miserable. I'm sure he's trying to downplay it like it's not that bad, but I can't imagine having both of those things at the same time in my health and at my age. Now, double that worse in both directions for Lindsey Graham, and that's where he is. I can't imagine he is doing very well, but at least his publicist is saying he's doing well, so good for him. Mm-hmm. But that's just punishment from God, and God we can't take into any luck. There's no account.
There's a vengeful God.
That's the God I believe in, the Old Testament one. Fire and brimstone, burning things to the ground. That's the one I like.
You like God at the very beginning and the very end.
Well, yeah, so the very end is actually like the wet dream of probably a sadist named Paul. But the very beginning, at least, we for sure is historically
the first
accurate.
Half of the book is pretty good.
But it's all part. This is all part of the new push by Republicans and the conservatives in general to vaccines are good. You should go get vaccines. Whether you're the governor of Alabama, who at one point said that it was like witch doctory and you would never get one, and now you're like, it's only the dumb ones who aren't getting the vaccine. All right, bitch. All right.
Sure. If the amount of people who if the entire time from March of last year on, I was just like, it's fucking fake. It's fake. Go do whatever you want. Then yes, I would understand. I would feel pretty dumb if I was coming around to it now and being like, I don't have blood on my hands. But like the decisions of the many have outweighed the few here. They I think it's a little bit too late for some of these people. I don't believe it. Lindsey Graham's bullshit for a second.
No. And also, apparently, anonymized data coming from cell towers near hospitals in major cities in the South. The number one topic of conversation. Can you take a guess, Corey?
I should have gotten the vaccine.
Should have gotten the vaccine.
I saw yet another story of somebody whose last text was, "I should have gotten the vaccine."
Yes. So, a lot of people realizing too little, too late. Because by the way, when you're sick with COVID, the vaccine does nothing for you. You're giving your body. Actually, it probably would hurt you because your body's like, I got limited resources. I'm fighting this virus. What the fuck is this? All right, then let's go.
Why
fight
are you
this
giving
thing.
me more of what looks like the virus?
Yeah, so, honestly, they should just give them the vaccine at the point in which they're in the hospital. Like, let's finish them off with science, the way that God intended.
Some 30-year-old in Denmark can't get one, but you want to give it to the people in COVID wards.
Yeah, that's
in respirators.
I don't have that on our list, but that was another disturbing story. So I guess it's kind of related. We did hit our 70% goal. One shot in the arm of every American. He said July 4th. We hit it on August 2nd. So 1 month late. If we didn't have the Delta variant, would we have hit it? Probably not, because that's what is spurning. In fact, the 8 states with the highest current case rates have also seen an average increase of 171% in the number of vaccinations received each day over the last 3 weeks. So comparing the rate 25 days ago to the rate over the last 3 weeks, 171% on average, more vaccines. And we are now getting back to the message that we had before, which is our supply has run out. There are counties in Alabama and Mississippi who have no vaccine. Meanwhile, in California, they're like rotting on the shelves. And we can't get them to Alabama because once they got to their destination, it's basically like, no, this is where they're supposed to be. You didn't order any more, but this is what you have. So now there's a bunch of people in Alabama who can't get them, which I just find ironic. And I hope they get COVID and die. But I mean, that's me. So just me talking.
I think what's so weird to me is like other industrialized nations of the world, like not necessarily the ones who want to bankroll a vaccine, which is what America did, for instance, to like get so much vaccine up front.
Yeah.
But like, there's a podcaster I listen to who's in Canada, and he's like my age, and 40, like right. It was a full 8 months later before he could get his vaccine. Like he just got it like 2 weeks ago. He's just like, I was finally approved to get my vaccine. I'm just like, bro, you must have been fucking chattering teeth over there. Like,
I mean, well, he's a podcaster, so he's probably living in his mom's basement and not leave. Wait a second. Anyway.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think if you wanted it, you should have thought about it as soon as you had the opportunity. I mean, like, I wanted to get it as quickly as I could. I just didn't want to I didn't want the week that I decide to step outside, like my mask fucking snaps, like a bird comes and takes it or something like that. Now I'm walking around. People are looking at me in the middle of, I could have gotten that day, but instead I decided to venture out and a bird stole my mask. Now I got COVID.
I am looking forward to the return.
Now it's too late.
I'm looking forward to the return of being able to give people without masks dirty looks, because in the bodega here around the corner, they have a sign on the window that is masks are required. And nearly every time I go in there, I see them having an argument with somebody at or near the door about the mask. And I'm just like, is it really that much? Like, how, are you so in your own shit that you cannot just for a second think of anyone else in the world and wear your fucking mask we know you already have because you've had one for the last year. Just wear it in the fucking store. Is it really that hard? But there's two people who are too self-centered. They don't care.
I always think about it like not having your license and going to buy cigarettes. Like there's been times where I've like walked in to buy some cigarettes. I look and I'm like, oh fuck, I left my license at home.
Yeah.
And then I go up to the counter and of course they ask for it because that's the only time they do.
Only time ever.
You don't have it. And then you look at them and you're just like, listen, I forgot it. but I don't want to go all the way back. Come all the way back here. Can you? I'm 1984. Can you just take my word for it? And they're like, no, of course not. And I'm like, fuck you.
To be fair, you look like you could be 16. Like, so, I mean.
And you got to be 21 in California.
Yeah.
So I get like why there's rules and I get why people argue. But at the same time, like, you know, no shirt, no shoes, no service. Like that's been accepted parlance forever.
Yeah.
Like you walk in without a shirt and the person says, hey, you can't be here. Like, what do you do? Like, you don't own the store. Like, you have to go. Like that's how it works.
By the way, I've heard that you can cheat the ID system by quoting the lyrics to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song word for word, and if you do them in order incorrectly with the correct beat as well, then the cashier will just be like, well, yeah, you old as fuck, and then they'll just sell you the cigarettes, so it'll be fine.
I'll try that next time it happens to me.
Or
like,
also,
no, sir, you need a license. Well,
in West Philadelphia, born and raised on the. Okay, all right, okay. You're good.
Fine, here's
your
fucking smokes.
No, wait. What show is that from? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah, it was on from like 1992, 1997. Will Smith before he was a big star. All right. I don't even know that much about the damn show. That was on before I was born. So anyway, oh, fuck. Okay.
Moving on to politics stuff. There was a leak of a memo from the deputy attorney general in a conversation with him, the attorney general, and former President Trump.
Right. It was notes of a call that the
notes
two
of a call.
Had, yes.
Where Trump was pressuring the DOJ to say that the election was fraudulent, and said, say it was fraudulent, and then leave the rest to me and congressional Republicans. Which, Rob, help me out here. I'm looking for a word. What does this sound like to you?
It's a little like a coup. Sounds a little like they're playing a coup.
Yeah. Like, it sounds like something didn't happen. They're aware it didn't happen. But they want some sort of entity to back it up like it did happen.
Yeah.
So that they can create trouble.
And not even back it up. Just cast a little doubt. If you cast just a little bit of doubt, we're going to jump in there and we're going to take advantage of it.
I mean, it was the same thing like Ukraine investigating Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't actually care if they went through with the investigation. They just wanted a press conference.
Create a little doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just say we're opening an investigation and that'll be it. I was like, I don't want to give Trump oxygen because like so much of what I hate right now is there's so much news coverage that is based off of people either get excited or angry at the thought of Trump, but they watch.
Yeah.
So on a fucking Tuesday when there's nothing going on in the middle of the day, you'll see them talk about Trump for like 6 hours and he's not doing anything. It's not like it's like he's got some new thing. Like,
he's taking his thick ass out and golfing. That's what he's doing.
This is new. I feel like it's worthy of bringing up because, you know, it was the opening salvo to what would eventually be an act of domestic terrorism against the state. So,
well, luckily,
it seems a little relevant to modern American history.
That's the only news to come out of any of Trump or his associates this week. So we're very excited.
Oh, wait.
Wait, was there more?
Yeah. Rudy Giuliani gave an interview with a New York news station.
That makes sense. He's America's mayor, New York's mayor, right?
Yep. And he was being brought on to talk about the anniversary of September 11th.
His greatest accomplishment, his greatest event.
His moment.
Yeah.
That was when he launched to the national spotlight. And usually I want a reporter to kind of lead my subject a little bit. Like I want to know. I want good questions, and I want the reporter to be on top of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to read the room, and you have to know that I got a crazy person here who just likes to hear himself talk.
I'm just gonna let him
talk.
Perhaps
I should just press record and just let it go. Like, you know, maybe just say, oh, so September 11th. What do you think? And then just let him go, and then he'll keep talking, and then eventually it'll just get into the. Like, oh, if they send me to the jail, then they'll be judged in heaven. And like, number one, judged in hell, Rudy. Your enemies would be judged in hell.
I mean, no. Realistically, his enemies are going to heaven. He's the one going to hell. So
if I find out that, like I go to jail, and then my enemies were responsible for me going to jail, I wouldn't be excited to find out that the 1996 New York Yankees are up at the pearly gates. I want them in hell. I don't want them up there. I've lost at that point, haven't I?
Yes.
We're not all getting into heaven. Heaven can't be heaven if my enemies are there. Like, what sense does that make?
That makes a good point, which is even more reason for me not to believe in it, because otherwise it's either me by myself or just a lot of other people and I'm not at the party. So
maybe heaven for certain people is just like, Rob, we got you this room all by yourself.
Oh, glorious. Or is it possible, Corey, that heaven is a place on earth?
I mean, I've heard tale of it, so perhaps it
is that the Bengals?
Perhaps it could be.
Is that the Bengals? Bengals?
No. Fuck.
Cyndi Lauper? It's around that time, right? Like late 80s?
It's somewhere in that area, yeah. I can't remember who it is, though. But yes, so that's what happened here. There was an interview where it was supposed to be talking about September 11th, and then broke down into how Rudy's going to go to jail and he'll be okay with it. And like, he's got enemies who are going to die, I guess, because they're going to heaven, but they're also good people. So they're going to it's all very,
and I lost my law license, but I'm going to get it back. Don't you worry. And what I sent Corey, when I sent the story,
my favorite one was, they're saying that I didn't register as a diplomat or what. Like, you'd think that I run for you think I'm a DA and a attorney general and blah blah, I mayor of New York and blah, and I don't know how to fill out the paperwork. Like, it's like, yeah, actually, you know what, Rudy, I believe you don't know how to fill out the 100%. I think at one point perhaps you had somebody in your employ who could fill out the paperwork. But I don't know if I ever trusted you to be able to like sit down in front of the form and just be like, first name Rudolph. Like, last name. Who can spell this for me? I've had 3 fingers.
I think the bigger part of that, and what I sent Corey when I sent the story, was that Rudy is just basically turning into Trump. Like, every conversation is just whatever he wants to talk about, and you could have a topic in mind. It doesn't matter. And it inevitably comes back to, everyone's coming after me. They are the worst. I am the best. I will get through this. Don't you worry. And no evidence to back up any of the claims that are in there. So,
yeah.
And as you said, the joke that Trump made, or non-joke, I guess, that Trump made, was about the January 6th uprising, the coup that was being planned. And McCarthy, who is the wannabe Speaker of the House, the man who thinks he will be Speaker of the House, although I have suspicions that even if he were to be, his party were to be put in power, that they would replace him, because I don't think enough people like him to get him Speaker of the House. But
I think even in a world where the Republicans are going to be able to gerrymander themselves some extra seats, enough so that they could win without doing anything else, there's a decent enough chance that Kevin McCarthy just isn't long for this world either way.
Yeah. The political world, not the physical world.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's in a pretty safe Republican district, but I feel like he's just a month or two away from, like, testifying in front of the January 6th commission and having to explain the conversations that he had with Trump on that day. And then all of a sudden Trump isn't his best friend anymore. And then somebody else is like, I don't know, fucking Caitlyn Jenner runs for that one instead. And Trump's like draped with the arm around. It's like, yeah,
I love
Caitlyn
this broad.
Kevin.
Love this broad. Let's do it. And it's funny that
Caitlyn's so much better than Kevin. It's like, meanwhile, Kevin McCarthy has literally been like, fucking, please, sir, can I have some more with Trump? Like, so I don't.
Well, and I was going to say, it
couldn't happen to a shittier asshole, I guess.
Good that you brought up January 6th, because at an event this week, Kevin McCarthy brought up January 3rd. And you might be asking yourself, well, January 3rd, what happened on January 3rd? Well, in 2 years, in 2023, on January 3rd, the new Congress will be inaugurated. And he invited a bunch of people who likely were at the Capitol on January 6th to come back to the Capitol on January 3rd for that inauguration, because there'll be something to celebrate either way. And I'm not really sure what that means. My assumption is you assume you're going to win, but that either way makes me think like, well, we didn't pull off the coup the first time, but we could get it done the second time. Now we learned our lesson. So
it's not even the coup at this point. The part that really I can't get over, and I won't be able to, like, there's no way, say Trump's in prison, right? There's no Republican who's running in the next cycle who I can look at with a straight face and say, like, well, they stood tall, well,
to be fair, though,
maybe
I was going to say that there may not be a Republican Party as we know it. There may be the Republicans and then the like New American Left or the Nationalist Socialist American Workers Party. No,
those, I mean, the Republicans will still occupy their space for a little while. I think the left is more likely to split into secondary parties than the right is at this moment, because there's not a party of Trump. That's the problem. Like,
not yet.
There's a lot of people who want to vote for Trump and not vote for anyone else. And like, what did I just do? I just turned on the computer, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like these people will be back to vote for Lindsey Graham when Trump isn't on the ballot. You know what I mean? Like, no.
And I think that's going to be their biggest problem in the mid-years is that, like, typically the out-of-power party picks up seats, and they're going to be able to jerry-rig a bunch of different districts, but there's just a bunch of voters who don't care about you. They care about Donald Trump. And if he's not on the ballot and he's not out in your district saying, hey, come vote for this guy, I need you to come out and vote for this guy, then they may not come out.
I don't hear the Trump crazies in my life. I mean, like, I don't listen to them that extensively, but the Trump crazies that come in through my life, I don't ever hear them say, like, man, I can't wait until after Trump has exceeded all of his term limit and stuff like that, and then I'm gonna vote for Matt Gaetz or like Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're not saying it because, like, they're Trump loyalists or something like that. They're saying it because they're idiots and those two are bombastic and blah blah blah. Like, nobody, and Trump will just railroad every single one. Like, Ron DeSantis is like basking in the warm glow of Trump right now, but he's only 2 months away from, like, Trump saying some shitty thing about him on Newsmax, and now that's it. Like, well, Ron DeSantis is a joke. I mean, he's already a joke because
he's governor.
He's doing
Florida.
Literally nothing about the pandemic, which is assaulting his state.
That's not true. That is not true. He is doing a lot, and all of it is the opposite of what he should do. No mask mandates, no mandates of any kind. Schools are going to be reopened and in person. You could shop where you'd like to shop.
Not only reopened and in person, but if you put a mask mandate in unilaterally at the school district level, like, get cut off from state funding.
Yep.
So, like, every child will have to just decide for themselves whether they want to wear masks, or teachers and all these people. Like, it just seems like a recipe for danger. I'm curious what kind of contract the school board teachers in Florida have in terms of protections against this sort of thing, because, like, I know LA County or LA Unified.
Yep.
Had a big war going on with local party and state party people when they were trying to reopen the classrooms early on in the pandemic. So I don't know. Like, it just seems like there's a lot of stuff that, like, Ron can't be responsible for, but he's also, like, making every wrong decision there too. So I don't know what to say about that either.
Well, and I want to make sure we touch on the second part of Kevin McCarthy's worst week ever, which was not only did he invite everyone to come down to the Capitol on January 3rd, 2023 to celebrate either way, but then he was handed a gavel, an oversized comic. I imagine it's one of those squeaky gavels that you used to get at Chuck E. Cheese. And he made a comment about how he would hit Nancy Pelosi with it. And listen, I'm going to say what everybody's thinking. Yes, we would all hit Nancy Pelosi with the giant gavel. But you said the quiet part out loud. That's what we're all thinking, Kevin. You don't actually say that, because then every person in Congress gets to come up and rail against you, like threatening violence. By the way, during the commission that's looking into the day of violence at the Capitol.
By the way, my favorite new Mendoza line is Al Franken resigned over less.
Yes.
Like, this is all like Al Franken, when he was a comedian, acted like he was honking some girl's tits. Like, that was the great crime that Al
while
Franken
she
committed.
was sleeping, and they were on an comic relief
USO tour. Yeah,
it was all comedians. No one had a problem with the picture. The person in the picture saw it later and laughed about it. But the existence of the picture and that action caused Al Franken to resign.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are we as a country right now? Honestly.
So, I mean, like, if you asked an independent arbitrator, if you were just like, does this joke picture rise to the same level as somebody saying they choose to assault the sitting Speaker of the House? No, those are equal things. Like,
now, wait. But we were all thinking we would want to assault the sitting Speaker of the House. Does that make a difference at all?
I mean, like, you're allowed to say, like, oh man, I wish Trump would try me in an alley so I could lay out his old ass, you know? But, like,
first of all, Trump hasn't seen an alley since like 1967.
Oh, I know.
Right?
And I'm also thinking of ways in which I could protect myself legally. You know, if it's self-defense, if he just comes down an alley, he's just like, hey, fuck you, then I could, just fucking wail him real good.
I don't think that's not how it works. Don't do that. That's not how it works. Because also, he's the kind of guy who like picks a fight when he knows the Secret Service is there, but you can't see them, and he's just like, "What are you gonna do about it?" And he like pops a swing at you. As soon as you swing back, it's just like pop, 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 and you're on the ground. And then the cop's like, "Oh God, I saw a gun. Sprinkle some crack on him. Let's get out of here."
Why can't it be the good old days where I just throw my shoe at him at a press conference of some kind? That's how we used to settle shit with politicians back in the day.
Wait. You mean two shoes? Because he threw the first one and there was like a subtle dive. Yeah, the second one was the dive out of the way because it got real close.
The first was just the dip. The second was the full-on dodge.
Oh, man. Jokes aside, because there was one last story out of the January 6th events that I wanted to touch on, and I have mixed emotions about it. But a fourth officer has died as a result. A fourth officer who was there on January 6th has died now by suicide. And as Corey pointed out in our pre-show conversation, there's no connection between these two events. There is a lot of other stuff going on. Obviously, you have these officers, Capitol Police officers and Metro Police officers who are under a lot of stress, and we're still under pandemic conditions, but also not. And it's been a long 18 months, and then a lot of stuff piling up. But this is more suicides than the Capitol Police has faced in their entire history in this period of time. And it just happens to coincide with the week that or the week after the initial hearing for the January 6th commission, which, if I was a police officer and let's say at some point I had stood next to, I don't know, Matt Gaetz while he was talking about Back the Blue, and then I heard him come out after that testimony and say things like, I was here on the 6th. It wasn't that bad. It was just hugs and kisses, or support as somebody who did say that.
Or go to the jail to visit the quote unquote freedom fighters, or political prisoners that are locked up with very serious crimes like trespassing in the Capitol.
It certainly wouldn't help an underlying mental health condition that's been exacerbated by a 18-month pandemic that led to a lockdown for most of it, except for not for cops, because essential workers. So there's a lot of factors, but I would just say the but-for test tells me that there is likely something to do with this. It may not be the reason that it happened, but certainly it is in the causal relationship that led to this. And I think you can't say that it isn't in that train of thought in one way or another.
I don't see how it could help.
It definitely couldn't help. Yeah.
That's where I'm kind of, like, and again, like, just take your job, like whatever. Hypothetical listener, you are the manager of a regional baking company, and you make rolls that get sold to restaurants and fast
Not for
food
the gays,
operations.
though. I don't make them for the gays. I'm in Oregon.
You have no complicated political alignments that are making you the center of controversy. You're just a normal, everyday American who is the regional manager of a baking company.
Can I count to 12, or is it somehow 13 all of a sudden?
If all of a sudden people started showing up at your place of work and fucking going crazy about what kind of sugar you're using in the bread, and then you're worried that every single day these people are going to come back and that the bread that you defended won't stand up for you, then you would be in a very complicated place. You know, like you wouldn't feel good about going to work knowing that this was the site of this traumatic thing that happened, you know?
Also, keep in mind that other bakers in other parts of the country, bad apple bakers, not all bakers, not like this baker. This baker is this baker is a good baker. Are killing people purposefully taking people's lives in some uber violent ways, like kneeling on someone's neck after someone was convicted of killing someone for kneeling on their neck, which is
I'm starting to wonder that this thing is getting a little bit out of pocket. This example isn't working anymore. No,
but they do have that stress. Like, listen, they have the stress of people like me shouting like, "You're all murderers and you're all guilty," because if you don't stand up against the dirty ones, you're all dirty. And then you have the people who are supposed to have your back turn on you. And I mean, the guy who testified and said, yeah, no, they were trying to recruit me in the crowd. And then when I said no, later on, I saw the same guy who tried to recruit me swinging a flagpole at me because I said no. What would have happened if I said yes? I don't know, because I said no. But they tried to kill me because I didn't join them, basically.
Yeah.
So you're only my friend as long as you can do something for me. Otherwise, nothing. I got nothing for you.
Well, the friend of my friend is my enemy, or whatever.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend?
The enemy of the enemy is my friend. That's the one I was looking for.
The one who gives me access to the Capitol when I'm trying to overthrow the government is my friend.
Yeah. True. I one quick thought I just had about the January 6th commission. And, you know, like if you listen to any of the officers' testimonies from the first day, it's all very harrowing stuff, and you feel bad for them and stuff like that as human beings having to deal with that shit. At the same time, I wouldn't have minded if they brought up a couple extra chairs for like the cops who were working that day, who were just like shaking hands with the people as they were like walking in the door.
Yeah.
And just have like Adam Schiff like just show a video. It's just like,
so what's this?
So you were on door duty, and you're just shaking hands and taking pictures with people who come on. My question for you is why? And then just have them explain. Like, you know, it's like a little bit of like you need to have that comic character in the middle of your drama, because you need a moment to release. Like it's tension release.
Part of the definition of my job is greeting visitors to the Capitol. Nothing in there does it say how they got into the Capitol. I saw visitors. I greeted them. Would you want me to do anything less for, I don't know, the king of Spain? No, I treat every man the same, whether he's the CEO or the janitor or someone who's there trying
I take pictures with people who come in the Capitol all the time.
Generally, the ones wearing Nazi memorabilia are not German. I will say that. It's very weird. It's a lot of guys with Southern accents, not so many German accents, but, you know, what can you do?
Yeah.
And I've moved the list around, Corey, if you'll notice.
Yeah.
And I feel bad about doing this because I do want to talk about the Olympics, and I don't think in any way it falls into the same category, but I suppose people at home may disagree. So I suppose it's time for sports ball. So yeah, I don't think the Olympics are sports.
I mean, there's certainly sports. I don't really have a profound interest in it. Like,
listen, the U.S. took third in skateboarding, and as the meme going around has said, this is what happens when you send the guys who can't pass the marijuana test. We should have taken every standing position, women's and men's, gold through bronze, everything.
Are they testing skaters?
Yeah, they have to test randomly everyone. So if you're, Tony Hawk and you're like, listen, man, I live in LA. It's California.
Bro, no, I got bad knees. I don't know what
I got
to
a
tell
prescription, okay? I had to go to this place in Venice. Super creepy. The doctor looked kind of like Jesus.
A doctor said this was okay because I couldn't sleep at night. So
it's for my Legionnaire's disease, okay?
Please give me my illegal narcotics, please.
But the news that I want to talk about isn't so much performance because I don't know if you're aware of this, Corey. The U.S. is leading in the medal count.
Well, again?
Color me surprised. My favorite comment was someone from the basketball team said this, and then it was like asked and echoed by everyone around different sports. But like, why do people play so much harder when they're playing for their home country team against us rather than like just in our regular, like if you go to the international track and field competition, it's just basically like your name. And yes, you're from a country, but like it's just you though. You're competing in your own person. But then they compete so much harder when they're competing for their country. And I'm like, other people like their countries. Other countries are good. Our country sucks.
I think there's something about countries though that are like fucking like so I watched the US versus Mexico and the Gold Cup yesterday, right? Watched more Gold Cup than I did Olympics in the last couple weeks.
Also not a sport, just to make
and I didn't give a fuck. I thought America was gonna lose the whole time because Mexico is a better ranked team. And I was just like hoping that they'd keep it competitive. Turns out they won. And
USA! USA!
That was a nice moment. But the part that gets me is like if there's nothing on and all of a sudden I see like an Ireland versus Spain soccer match, I'm gonna watch and I'm gonna root for Ireland. Am I Irish? Like, am I from the Isle? No.
But
is my bloodline from there? Yes. And that's all I need to have a rooting interest in this game. And I don't know why. I feel like for whatever reason, like there's this idea of country, even in the abstract, which is like something that means more than like your place of employment, like.
So sidebar, my mind went down a weird turn because I was going to ask you if you'd gotten any genetic information to confirm that, because I feel like that's also maybe Irish. The way your skin reacts to the sun, though, very Irish. But I highly recommend the show Hacks. I binged it in its entirety on Sunday. But there was a line out of it that made me think of, which is, so I went home for the weekend. I got this uncle who's really, really arguing against the 23andMe thing. And then another guy is just like, so he's definitely a serial killer, right? Like, definitely a serial killer. And I think about how much I tell my family not to submit to any of those genetic tests. And they did so anyway. So at some point, the podcast is just going to end. Although Corey's true crime podcast can start up at that point. How did I not see it?
Inside the new Golden State Killer. How did I not see it? I do episode after episode going like, you know what? The clues weren't there. I don't know what you want me to say.
I was going to go the other way where you can just go back through the podcast and be like, here's where I should have known number 17 and play the clip.
It's like we were watching Zola last night. It's like, this is track number 2 on that bitch.
Yeah. Also, we saw Zola. Highly recommend if you haven't even heard about that. It's based on a Twitter thing that when I saw the Twitter thread, yeah. And when I saw the Twitter thread back in 2006, 7, 8, 9, whenever it was, I remember sending it to Corey and being like, this is like my life. And then they made a movie, which is basically biographical for me. But not from my perspective. So
if you want to know which one Rob is, he's the white guy that's in the car.
I mean, theoretically, I guess yes, that would
just
be
follow
correct.
his story for the rest of the way, and that'll be.
I like to think of myself more as X, but yeah, I mean, technically speaking, I guess. Except for I would have hit that pool. How do you miss that? It's a big target. Just, off into the pool. You guys will know what I'm talking about later. Anyway, so news from the Olympics. Two big stories that are more political than they are Olympic. But a Belarusian track and field person apparently made an offhanded comment about how the director of the track and field program signed her up for the wrong race. And I believe, my understanding is, it was a joke meant at like, I did the Yakov Smirnoff thing, like, in Belarusia, we decide what track you run. And so I think she was making a joke, but what she neglected to remember is that the dictator of Belarus has a brother, and that brother was basically in charge of the whole Olympic program. So the dictator took it really personally that she insulted the way that the Olympic program was run. And apparently two guys just like that showed up at her place where she was staying in the Olympic Village, and they were like, oh, well, since we signed you up for the wrong race, you don't have any reason to be here. Bed. Yeah, so they got her, and we're going to take her to the airport, and like Japanese officials were like, you look like you might be trafficked. What's going on here? And then the IOC intervened, and apparently now she is in the Polish embassy asking for asking to defect, basically from Belarusia, because she is scared that if she returns, she might be murdered. And I know I say a lot of things about America and how shitty we are and just a terrible country, but I will say, I do say those things with a level of like, I don't want to use the word freedom, but I guess freedom's the word. Like
appreciation. I
appreciate the fact that I can say that, and that my family doesn't like get disappeared into a van somewhere. Because apparently also she tried to reach her family, who are now not able to be reached, which means they could be alive in a prison camp. They could be dead. Who knows? That's how Eastern European dictatorships work. So
they could have gone fishing.
Maybe they're on vacation. Yeah, they could be out of touch. They could be used as blackmail leverage to get her to come back, and then all of them could be murdered together. Hey, who knows? It depends how creative the dictator of Belarus is. But we should be thankful for things like being able to say, yeah, we're all thinking we would, beat the Speaker of the House with a gavel, right? We were thinking that. That's fine. And then just cut to Vladimir Putin being like, he said what? Okay, get the phone.
He did what on podcast?
Oh, just imagine this podcast. We are Russian in Russia. Okay, now imagine it's episode 3, because that's all that we would have. After that, everybody gets disappeared.
I just like to picture Putin with like an old iPod and like the earbuds that like have a string connected to them.
Yeah.
And he's just like listening. He's like crushing it in his hand. He's like, go get podcast, man.
Oh, you're the funny man from the podcast, huh? Okay.
Oh, tell me a joke. Make me laugh.
What am I? A clown? Am I here to make you laugh?
Go ahead. I have great sense of humor. Tell me a joke. Funny man.
I do love that my Putin is very much like based in James Bond villains, and yours is very much based in Natasha from Boris and Natasha. You have a very sensual edge to your Putin that I've tried to avoid. So good for you.
Come here, lay with me.
Also, there is it's the intonation is there.
Bearskin rug built for 2.
The intonation is there, but it's just missing the thing that would make it an accent. It's you're like cutting the word short, but you're not putting all the love into the language. You have there's a way to do it.
Maybe I should just do like a half-ass Putin of some kind and just like make that like a character, and I'll just put it on the internet.
I mean, I could go through the rest of this podcast and I could be speaking in my Russian accent.
Lazy Putin. Lazy Putin.
He'll find a way to disappear you here in California from Russia. Don't mess with him.
I have so many things to do, but I wish to sleep because I lazy Putin.
Polonium is very small. That it
so many defectors, so little time for me to sleep.
That is the worst Russian accent. It just keeps getting worse. Anyway, so another story out of the Olympics, which I only want to speak about because I hate people generally speaking, but I especially
Oh
hate
yeah, they're
idiots.
awful.
People are awful, and the internet will show you that. But there was a lot of hay made, some from people that we know, about the fact that the Olympics were going to have their first transgendered athlete, and she competed in the powerlifting or the whatever the event you call whatever it's called. You lift a big heavy weight over your head, and people who shall not be named and other people from the internet were just like, oh well, this is not even fair. Like, of course. He picked an event where he can just go ahead and just like slam some weight up, and he's competing against girls, so he's definitely going to win. And then she did not even make it out of the initial round after all of the like hate talk about overperformance based on being transgendered. And my message is just like, I think what we were talking about on the call, Corey, is absolutely accurate. If Corey began to question his own sexuality and his gender, and he just decided to wear an earring. If he wear
it doesn't even have to go that far. If I just wanted to wear an earring, like if I just decided one day, like, well, what, this is something that makes me happy. Like, I'm
using that as an example because it makes me sound like a shittier person in your example, and I want mine to be less shitty. But yes, let's say wearing earrings makes him happy, and he's questioning his gender, and this is his way of expressing it. I would not make fun of him for the earring if he wore like a Morgan Freeman tasteful hoop or like a little stud. But if he's got some long bojangles hanging off his ear.
If I got some fucking Dreamweavers from New Mexico,
I'm making fun of him for the earring, but because of the earring, not because of his choice to wear it. It's, bro, you have 2 shades of teal in your earring and no teal on your clothes. You're wearing it with orange and black. Nothing about this works. You have no taste of style. But if he was just like, listen, it makes me happy, and I'm questioning all these feelings, I'd be like, that's great. That is a fucking ugly earring. And I thought you could only get more attractive from where you started. I was wrong. None of that has to do with the fact that he is exploring his gender identity. Your other example was if you wanted to wear a tutu all the time. As part of this exploration, he starts wearing a tutu. I will 100% make fun of him for wearing a tutu. But if it was a tasteful pair of slacks or a nice dress, bro, whatever you want to wear is fine. If you are wearing a pink ballerina tutu, I am going to make fun of you. Not because of why you wear it, but because of the item that you're wearing. Like,
well, it'd be like if I said like I wanna wear a hat when we go out, and then I came with like a sombrero or something like that.
A fedora.
Like, why that hat?
If you brought a fedora to a night out,
Tangle.
I'm gonna make fun of you incessantly until you get rid of the fedora. That is that makes me. I only said fedora because it makes me think of incels, and it's like that is as straight a hat as you could possibly get. Like incels love that hat, but I would still make fun of it if you wore a beret. I'm making fun of you for the beret. If you said like this is my first step into like being more comfortable in wearing clothes that I feel are more effeminate, I'd be like, congratulations. You should find something else because that's a dumbass fucking hat.
That one doesn't work for you.
Yeah, it's because of you and the hat, not because of the reason you're wearing it. But then
I mean, if I did decide to transition, I would want somebody at least telling me, like, am I looking good? Like,
yeah,
I don't want to show up looking like an idiot,
Well, you're starting out from a deficit anyway. But I don't understand the people who were just basically. It wasn't about anything to do with anything, and I don't know how you find a positive way in there. I don't think there is one. Basically, the lines of attack were ignoring the chosen pronouns, and also you were born a man, and therefore you have an advantage in this sport, and there is no other way to get around it. That is the only points of discussion you are involved in, and turns out just
Except that's not true. Like,
yeah.
It turns out the world-class athletes, regardless of gender, require more than just being the quote-unquote superior gender for whatever sport they're doing. Like, it was a couple years back when Jenny Finch and the American softball team was like the talk of whatever Olympics that was.
Yeah.
And I remember she came back and she was going to like throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium or something like that. And they had her throw like bullpen for some of the guys. And she was throwing softballs. And you're saying to yourself, like, all right, fucking Aaron Judge sees a softball coming his way. He's going to hammer that thing like you've never seen before. Like, he hits a baseball. It's way smaller. And he's big. And he's Aaron Judge and blah, blah, blah. Like, no. She was making all those big league players look like idiots.
Yep.
Because she's really good at what she does. So, like, it's not the same as, like, you putting yourself in the idea that, like, oh, you compete pretty well in a beer league softball team.
You can outpitch her. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what it's like, like you could just walk on to the women's Olympic softball team or something like that. Like, cause you're a man and therefore you're superior in that way. No, it's not how it works.
No.
Like, it's like, they used to make the same awful thing about the, oh, if I was a borderline player, I'd just join the WNBA. Like, you can't just join the
No.
It doesn't work like that. Like, you're not those girls are talented in their own right. Like, it's not like the difference is some man would come in and just compete immediately. Like, that's dumb.
And to be fair, a lot of them could probably play in the NBA if there wasn't just we don't have girls play here.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's Sue Bird and a bunch of great WNBA players who could have probably competed perfectly fine in the NBA if there was an opportunity.
Yep.
And I mean, all these people who give shit to like transgender athletes and stuff like that, just understand that depending on how long you live on this rock of ours, you're gonna have to come to grips at some point with things changing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a woman who plays in Major League Baseball before I die.
Sure.
Like, there will be some woman who breaks the gender barrier, and when she does, no matter what year it is, like we talked about this with like Carl Nassib, the first openly gay NFL player.
Yeah.
How, like, if you told me in 1990 that there would be an openly gay NFL player, I'd be like, he is going to hear it all the fucking time.
Yep.
So far, it seems like his welcome has been pretty good. Like, he hasn't really gotten shit for it. I guess we'll see what happens when games start.
Yeah.
That'll probably be the real test.
That's another thing.
But I mean, like, at some point, there's going to be some gal who comes along and is some great shortstop and is able to play in the major leagues, and she breaks the gender barrier, and she starts putting up real records. She's going for the home run record. She's about to pass Babe Ruth, and you're just like, no fucking chick is allowed to pass Babe Ruth on the home run record list. It's the fucking Roger Maris all over again. It's just like, this ain't allowed to happen. Babe did it on her 54 games. Don't count. Like, at some point, you just look like the idiot because this is the same people who were saying like Jackie Robinson was bad for baseball and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, baseball was missing some of the best potential athletes it could have ever had because it didn't integrate.
The problem is, though, that those people never see it as a bad thing. It's like showing someone a picture like, here's you in 1963 with a sign that you wrote out the N-word on and then shook it in a black man's face. Yep, proud of it. Do it again today. Don't even care. Because we have to wait for them to die. That's the thing. Society moves on when they die. And then we hope that they poison less of the next generation.
But you think that, it's just as easy as the old generation dying. But I mean, like, someone will break the gender barrier. At some point it'll happen. There will be some player good enough to break the gender barrier in whatever sport it is. And regardless of how progressive we are as a society at that point, no matter how far in the future it may be, that gal's getting some shit. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
no, we'll be able to play. We'll be able to play an interview with a member of the public talking about Hank Aaron beside a member of the public talking about this woman about to break the gender barrier because, well, I mean, Jackie Robinson and the gender barrier. Your example was passing Babe Ruth, and when Hank Aaron was about to pass Babe Ruth, it was Roger Maris, only Jim Crow Roger Maris, because it was just like, listen, we let Roger get away with it. but at least he was a white man from New York. I don't want this Atlanta man to come and take away the record. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And she'll get the same thing. The first woman who gets to that point will as well. And hopefully at that point we're playing Blurns ball because I think it was a lot more fun than baseball. But speaking of baseball, one other big new sports story for the week that Corey pays attention to way more than me.
Well, just to say, if you haven't been paying attention, I'm amazed how many people I know who claim to be Dodger fans. And I'm the one who's breaking the news for them like 3 days after the fact. Of fake fans. They claim to. Rob, if the Orioles for whatever reason traded for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, do you think there's any way that would happen without me alerting you within seconds?
No, I think also there is a chance that
I think if there was even a chance that Max Scherzer would have come to the Orioles, I would have been like following him around like a fucking paparazzi.
Well, and like I get the Google
wait
alerts.
For the moment for the ink to dry. Like,
I don't claim to be a super fan of any variety, but I get Google alerts for the Ravens and the Orioles just so I feel like I'm up to date on whatever's happening. But for the people who are like, no, you don't understand. I am a diehard Dodger fan, and then you're days later being like, how about that trade? And you're like, what trade? Oh, the NBA style free agent exchange at the end.
Or the like, I am a huge baseball fan. It's just like, you guys just got Max Scherzer, and it's like,
cool.
Who?
That's cool.
Who?
Yay.
I'm sorry, who is this guy? Is he some young hot prospect or something? Or
yeah, that's who he is.
No, he's gonna go to the Hall of Fame. He's one of the He's one of the 10 best pitchers of our lifetime.
Oh, great. Great. That'll be great. So when I skip out of work early to go to Dodger games for the playoffs, I'll be able to see this Matt Sherwin. Who is it? What?
Matt Sherwin. Yeah. What was interesting about it was that there were huge names that moved, and usually there's not as many big names that move at the MLB trade deadline. I mean, there were a lot this year, so it was just fascinating in the sense that, like, you know, like teams just fucking gave up. Like,
is it me or is everything turning into the NBA where it's just like, let's make these just okay, the season's over, let's see what we can get out of a trade right now.
I think in some cases it is, but in other cases, I would imagine that the Nationals want to try and get back to winning as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Because they kept Soto. So, I mean, like, they're just going to build a new team around Soto as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
They don't want to waste any years with him. But, like, the Cubs, who just gave away, like, literally every player of any kind of value whatsoever to whatever team would give them a prospect in exchange.
Rebuilding here.
Yeah, they're gonna try and start over and, like, you know, build it up and, like, get a new thing going. I mean, all these players that they just traded were part of the let's build it up and get a new thing going.
So don't worry, Cubs fans.
Keep them.
Don't worry. It's 21-21's coming soon enough. You'll get that next World Series.
See, the worst part is, like, as an Orioles fan, because we're a small market team, we get a player like Manny Machado, right? And I know that I'm living on borrowed time.
Yep.
At some point, we're not going to be able to give him $300 million over 10 years or whatever. Like, we're not going to be able to give him that contract.
We could. Our owner will never approve that contract. He's got mesothelioma money to pay for it. I'm just saying.
I mean, even if it was possible to pay the contract, we would be like the Texas Rangers when they paid A-Rod, and we'd have to, like, have minor league minimums across the rest of the team, and no chance of actually winning because we're spending so much money on Manny Machado.
Would you be interested in part ownership of the club? We'd give you 50% interest.
But when you are the Chicago goddamn Cubs, like, as much of a license to print money as anything else in this country, like, they didn't win for over 100 years a World Series. They didn't even get fucking close.
Nope.
And you know what? You know what they had every fucking season? Sellouts. Every game, every day, sellouts. People love the fucking Cubs, regardless of whether or not they won or lost. And they finally won. And you have a chance to fucking do something about it. And you're just like, let's just let these guys go and do it again. I'm sure it won't be easy.
Well, we broke the curse, Corey, because luck and curses, these are all real things that people have to worry about.
Meanwhile, Rob's like, I think I'm taking crazy pills.
Every day of my life.
One super quick thing though.
Yeah,
Not trade deadline related though. Somebody before they decided to change the name from Cleveland Indians to Cleveland Guardians should have done the bare minimum research,
modicum of research,
which is literally go to Google Chrome and type in clevelandguardians.com and see what happens to see if something's there. We talked a little bit about how they changed the name to the Guardians, and apparently there's a roller derby team that is called the Cleveland Guardians, and they're not giving up the website. And it doesn't look like they're necessarily inclined to give up their name either. And they're selling.
I've got an idea.
Cleveland Guardians merchandise on their website. So
let's forget about the plural. Let's go to the singular and we'll search for theguardian.com. I think that might be available.
It'll be available. The name on the front of the jersey isn't as important as the name right after the front of the jersey.
Yes. But yeah, so the roller derby team hopefully making hay. They need to expand. By the way, I clicked on 3 links and none of them worked. It just the timeout error. They need to increase their server space at this point. And by the way, put your store on the front page so when people see it, they start buying Guardians gear. Like, oh, I didn't know we were changing the colors too. Cool. Oh, all right, I'll get a teal and blue.
The moment is now. The time is nigh. Yeah. Listen, you think Four Seasons Total Landscaping had a fucking shitty ass site after Rudy Giuliani had a press conference? No, they got on that quick.
Four Seasons also got on it. The hotel got on it really quick too. They're like, we need to change the name. I don't no Trump Hotel. How about that?
It was funny, by the way. I read a story today about how there's a Four Seasons, like it's called Four Seasons, but it's a different landscaping company basically, and out here in California, and they were hired to do like, I don't know, like fucking floral arrangements for some sort of Trump event. That he didn't end up making because he got COVID.
Oh.
But he was like, the guy was just like, he thought it was so weird that his Four Seasons got usurped by another Four Seasons in Philadelphia. Like, this is like, there's a run of them like hiring what they think is Four Seasons. Like,
I think I would have got on the horn to clarify, like, just so you know, this is not the Four Seasons Beverly Hills. This is the Four Seasons Encinitas. We are a landscaping company.
You wouldn't fucking stop. If you were the manager at Four Seasons Total Landscaping, you wouldn't say like, "Hey, Rudy, just so you know, this is a landscaping company. We're next to an adult bookstore."
No, we can do a press conference. 100%. Yeah, absolutely, not a problem. Plenty of parking space. It's great.
We got a wall. We got a. Do you need some electricity? I can run a wire out or something like that.
Anyway, but we're getting off the topic.
Extension cord rattling around here somewhere.
For the Guardians, make hay while the sun is warm, or whatever the saying is.
Sun is shining.
Yeah, make hay while the sun's shining. And that, of course, is the end of sports ball.
And it seems like as a podcast, our time is nigh, but it's okay. You know where you can go?
Where's that?
Oh, the Anthem.com. Cordy is the Anthem.com. With the Anthem on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. I said them out of order, and I completely froze my brain for a second there. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendsB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Hey, remember that video? I was going to put it up on Tuesday when I put up the the Anthem video, and then I put up the Anthem video, and then I said, I'm done putting up videos for the day, and completely forgot about it. So go see it now. That's is
it actually available? Oh, good for you.
I mean, will be tomorrow when I do it at the same time as the podcast.
Talk about not learning from your mistakes.
I know. What can I say? I'm an awful content creator. I'm so busy working on the ones that I get paid for that when I get home, I just don't do the ones I don't get paid for. It's weird.
Oh, well, of course, you can find more of me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. Check out Foe, which is basically a book of me telling tales that are absolutely not true. And that faux is not short for autobiography, as in fake autobiography that may or may not be based on my real life. So just thinking about that. But you can find links to that at robertandcheat.com and links to all the other stuff I'm working on. More stuff coming to YouTube hopefully soon. I have it all edited up there. I just don't. Unlike Corey, I don't care. So I just let it ride. Who cares? Again, I go back to the 4,400 minutes of content created in 2020. 2,200 minutes watched. Of that 4,400, at least double that for preparation and filming time. So 8,800 minutes of effort for 1/4 of the amount of time watched. Hey, listen to you guys. He sent me a strong message. What you want is Kizik's unboxings and what other nonsense that people watched? Whatever. Unboxings and
Sotera
pillow discussions. So I'm gonna try and give you that instead of the other stuff. Although working on a political video, so that'll be sure to kill the channel, I'm sure.
You'll have to start a new one. All right, well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the The Anthem podcast, part of the The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
Toodaloo.